What's going on, guys? Pat Damiano here, and in this video I'm going to be answering some Instagram questions that I got the other day. So what I did was just kind of throw a story up and say, shoot me some kettlebell questions that you've got, and now I'm just going to be going through the best ones because there were a lot of them, but the ones that get asked a little bit more consistently and what I think are the best ones. We're going to be going over them, and I'm going to give you a nice detailed explanation for each one of them. Now, something to keep in mind is these are all straight up kettlebell questions. I don't think that's a surprise. I put kettlebell questions only and keep them specific to that. So I am going to be going over these questions, and it is all specific to kettlebells. Let's jump in. Now, the first one is coming from Jose AM86, and he asks, just starting off, how many different exercises should I do in one workout? If you are brand new, so there's two ways that you can answer this. If you are brand new to fitness and working out is new for you and you're starting out or using some kettlebells, I would say maybe 3 to 4 exercises should be enough. You don't need to throw too much at you. Keep things pretty straightforward. Now, with that being said, even if you are a little bit more advanced with working out and you're now just kind of starting to dabble with some kettlebells, I would still say keep it in the 4 to 5 range. So I keep things pretty straightforward. I would rather just focus on doing not as many exercises and doing more sets. So instead of doing 8 exercises, 3 sets at each, I'm going to do maybe 4 or 5 exercises and do 5 sets at each. So that's kind of the way that I personally like to break things down. It allows me to just focus on the things that matter, allows me to push the weight and not get too distracted when I'm doing my workouts. And that is if you're new or super advanced. Even at this point, I'm doing maybe 5 exercises at the most in an entire workout. So the next one comes from Juan Pablo, PAZP. He asked, do you ever train accessories, curls, lateral raises, and stuff like that? And I'm assuming that just kind of means overall general bodybuilding. So I would say 80% of my training is kettlebells. Another 10% is going to be clubs, maces, Bulgarian bags, and things along those lines. And then maybe 10 or 5% is some bodybuilding stuff. I still throw that in there. I don't know if you consider pull-ups or something like that bodybuilding, but I guess the more isolated stuff like arm work, curls, tricep work, shoulder work, that's very specific and isolated, is I will throw it in there from time to time. Primarily, it gets thrown in the mix on a day where I'm maybe just bored and just don't feel like using that much kettlebells that much for that day. They do get thrown into the mix. I don't do them that often. It is really just a when I kind of feel like it type of thing. I definitely think they have their place and they have some benefits, and I throw them into some of my programs as well for my clients and for Bellplex. But for the most part, I don't really do that many of them, and it's just kind of out of laziness and lack of desire to do them. I also don't like to spend 60 to 90 minutes working out. I try and get most of my workouts done in less than an hour. So if I'm going to add in some isolation work like that, it's going to take more time, and I tend to just not be overly concerned with it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have its place. It definitely has benefits, and if you have the time and desire to throw it in there, go ahead and throw it in there. Next one comes from DC Zach. He wants to know, how do you suggest a newbie picks the best weight for their first bell or pair? So I have a full video breakdown that I will link right here. That is going to give you every piece of information that you need when it comes to getting your first 1, 2, 3, 5 kettlebells. Are you brand new to fitness? Are you just brand new to kettlebells but pretty strong? Are you a male, female, whatever it is? That has everything broken down in there. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but for the sake of this, it just says 1. If you're just looking to get 1 kettlebell to start to play around with them, whether it's at home in your garage or you want to pick one up at the gym that you go to. For women, I would suggest maybe a 26-pound one, and for men, I would suggest a 35. It's going to be light for some exercises. It's going to be a little heavy for some exercises, but it's probably going to be a pretty decent middle ground for you to start to be able to play around with most exercises that are in the kettlebell world. So just something to keep in mind is it's not going to be perfect. You are going to need multiple weights if you want to perfectly challenge yourself for lower body exercises, perfectly challenge yourself for upper body, and so on. But I think that'll be a pretty good middle ground for you to just start to kind of dabble with some of the exercises: cleans, push press, swings, goblet squats, and just get a feel for the kettlebell. Now, if you find yourself being a very strong, so if you're a pretty above average strength woman, maybe you go one up and get a 35, men get a 44 or 53 or something like that. It's really dependent on your strength levels because the skill's going to come quicker than you think. So just something to kind of keep in mind. But I think those two weights, 26 for women and then a 35 for men, would be a pretty good starting point to I just want to get my first bell, dip my toes in the water, and then you can go from there. All right, so the next one comes from Gassy Cassie, and he asks, good kettlebell chest exercises, ? Now, without fail, every single time that I put up an Instagram, ask me anything type of questions, this gets put in the box. Sometimes multiple times, but at least once every single time. It is one of the most popular and most commonly asked questions that I get. So let's talk about it. Now, the first way to answer this is it's not really what kettlebells are about. You may have heard me say this before. Kettlebells aren't about isolation. I'm not doing curls with kettlebells, lateral raises, tricep extensions, chest exercises. It's not really what they're about. They're more so about movement patterns. Vertical pushing, horizontal pushing, rows, lower body exercise, and so on. Squats, hinge. We're focusing a little bit more on movement patterns and more compound exercises when we use kettlebells. So just isolating the chest doesn't necessarily happen all of the time, or at all really, in most cases, because it's just not really what they're all about. They're about a little bit more full body, functional mobility, all-encompassing exercises. So just something to keep in mind. If you have access to both, so if you go to a gym and you have kettlebells, use your kettlebells for your cleans, snatches, swings, goblet squats, windmills, Turkish get-ups, things along those lines, and then go do your traditional chest exercises, bench, dips, and things along those lines. But if you just have kettlebells at your house or wherever you're working out and you still want to work your chest a little bit and you only have kettlebells, it is still possible. One, push-ups are going to be a great option to do. You can obviously do those anywhere and don't need kettlebells. It's something that I do a lot. You can also do a couple different chest pressing variations with kettlebells. You can grab one and just lay on the ground and press it up like so, kind of like a floor press. If you're familiar with that, using just one kettlebell, it's actually a great chest pump. And I do like to throw that into the mix a little bit. People always love that one, and I do too. Great way to kind of isolate the chest with kettlebells. You can also bench press with them. So 2 kettlebells, the same way you would do a dumbbell bench press, you just use kettlebells instead. And again, it's another good way to hit that movement pattern, like we talked about before, of a more horizontal press and still work your chest. So that's just something to keep in mind when going about that. I know people maybe are interested in kettlebells, but they don't want to miss out on the good old fashioned chest stuff. They're afraid that they're not going to be, or losing some of that traditional strength in that movement pattern. You can still do that. Just know it's not necessarily what they're about. So using kettlebells to work your chest is very dependent on the situation that you're in. If you have access to a gym, keep doing the regular stuff. Dumbbell bench, dips, barbell bench, go ahead. If you're at home and just have kettlebells, there's still options, but it's something to keep in mind. You have ways to work around it, and it's a question I get all the time, so I just need to answer it. And if you want to see exactly how you can work your chest with kettlebells, go ahead and click this link right here, and you can do a nice little 9-minute finisher for your chest with kettlebells. It's going to be a good one. All right, so the next one comes from B_low91492. Weekly kettlebell workout splits. Yes. So kind of leading into the last one is I personally don't necessarily do a split with kettlebells. You could do an upper body and a lower body day. Maybe you could get away with a push-pull legs type of split. Again, not really what I think they're about. I like to lean towards a full body kettlebell split. All right, so every day I'm doing full body. There are going to be days I have more emphasis on certain parts. My lower body's sore, maybe I'm going to do a little bit more upper body on one day. If my upper body's sore, I might do a little extra emphasis on the lower body. But for the most part, I'm hitting a little bit of everything each day. And I have multiple videos to kind of show you how I break those things down. But for the most part, it's a push exercise, a pull exercise, a lower body exercise, and a core. That's kind of like my general blueprint that I like to go about with each one of my workouts, and I'll change things up a little bit. Like I said, there's a few different ways that you can go about it, but for the most part, it's just what I think kettlebells are so good at is giving you a nice solid full body workout where you can build strength, gain muscle, increase your mobility, and get some conditioning in all at the same time. So I just think a full body split almost every single day with kettlebells is a really good way to go about it. And you can do that 4 or 5 times a week as long as you structure it the right way. And that's what I'm here to do, is help you out with that. So check out some of my videos on that. But weekly kettlebell split, I like a full body every single day. All right, so next one is a really good question. I like this, and it comes from DBFit401. He says, what kettlebell cert do you recommend and why? There's tons out there for coaches. Yes. So real quick fun fact, I actually don't have any kettlebell certifications. Hope that doesn't change your opinion on whether or not I know what I'm talking about. I've just been in the fitness world for a while, been using kettlebells for a while, and just honestly never got around to getting a certification. But there are some really good ones out there. There's RKC, there is Strong First, there is functional kettlebell training with Cliff. He's a friend of mine. And then there is the one that I would probably recommend to anybody watching this if you really want to start to engulf yourself into some kettlebell training and also just becoming a better coach in general. And that's going to be Kettlebell Coach University. That's with Hunter Krein. He's a really good guy too. I've talked to him on a decent amount of occasions, and he has a really good way of going about these. He fully immerses you. You go through a nice cohort of, I think, 12 or 16 weeks. So you're not just doing a weekend certification, then moving on. He's going to really go deep with you. You're going to learn how to use kettlebells a ton yourself, and then you're going to also learn how to program them. You're going to learn how to teach them to other people. He does a really good job. I haven't done his course, but just knowing who he is and knowing how he works, I know for a fact his course is really good. People love him. He's got a very loyal following, and it's going to be probably one of the best ones out there, especially best bang for your buck. So if you're really interested in learning just how to coach in general, but specifically with kettlebells and programming and learning how to do them yourself and all of that, I highly recommend checking out Hunter Krein of Kettlebell Coach University. All right. Oh, I really like this question. I currently run, so this comes from ahack_. I currently run a 4-day upper-lower bodybuilding split. Can I exchange 2 of the days for kettlebells? Yes. If you are someone who doesn't want to completely transfer all of their training over to kettlebells and you still want to have a little bit of a hybrid model and do a little bit of everything, I think this is the best route for you to go. An upper body, traditional bodybuilding, strength training type of day, a lower body of the same sort, and then 2 full body kettlebell workouts. If you do that, I think you're going to be an absolute savage, and you're going to be strong. You're going to be gaining muscle. You're going to look good. You're going to be functional and mobile and conditioned with the kettlebells. I think it's a great route for you to go if you are not looking to completely switch things over. So if that is something you are doing or interested in doing, you still kind of like your bodybuilding stuff and want to keep it in the mix, I think this is a fantastic approach. Upper body day, lower body day, 2 full body kettlebell workouts. If you do that 4 times a week and hit those hard, you're going to be a beast. And I really think you'll get a ton of value out of something like that. And I highly suggest it if you're someone who still likes to go to the gym, still likes to do all the traditional stuff, but you want to be a little bit of a kettlebell savage and a little bit of a beast, do some snatches, some cleans, and heavy swings. Hell yeah, I love it. This is actually kind of the way I train my clients in person, since I do have access to an entire gym. So we're going to use barbells. We're going to do lat pull downs. We're going to bench press. We're going to do some barbell deadlifts, but we're also doing a ton of swing snatches and things along those lines. And they get a really good, well-rounded workout plan. All right, guys, that is all I got for you today. Those are the best questions and the ones that I wanted to answer out of that group. If you ever see me post something on Instagram that says, ask me a question, I also want to do this part as well. So throw those questions in there if you ever see it, the ones that you want to see answered. I also do answer them on Instagram as well, at least the ones that I can. And then I like to save the really good ones for a little bit of a longer form video like this, so I can go into more detail and explain a little bit deeper on the ones that I think deserve or need a little bit more of an explanation, as opposed to just kind of writing some words on Instagram. So if you enjoy this type of content, content. As always, guys, make sure you shoot me a comment if you have any questions you'd like to see me answered, or if you have any questions after watching this video. And as always, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date with when I'm releasing videos, which is 3 times a week. That's how much I'm giving you guys. So the least you could do is just give me a little subscribe, or maybe a like, or do nothing. You can just watch this video and then move on with the rest of your life. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever it is, I appreciate you sticking around, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.